everybody. In this video, you will be learning about variable overflow in SQL. So the agenda of my video will be what is variable overflow, how variable overflow happens, and the checked and unchecked keywords. So let's get straight into it. First, I'm going to discuss about what is variable overflow. So by default, arithmetic operations and conversions in C# are executed in an unchecked context. This means that the compiler will not throw any error. So for assigned integer, it overflows after int.max value and underflows from int.min value. So this is just an example. Even for, let's take an example of byte. So it overflows after byte.max value and underflows from byte.min value. So this default behavior of swallowing exception seems rather strange and unexpected, right? So if we are not using constants, then the compiler will not throw, and if there is a variable overflow, then the compiler will not throw an error in the compile time and even at runtime, but instead the variable that has been overflowed or underflowed will take up some strange value. So normally, while designing our application itself, we'll be aware of the range that our variable should store. So in that case, we'll not have any kind of variable overflow. In other cases, there may be some bad assumptions in our variables, so that may lead to an overflow. Okay. So next, I'm going to be talking about how variable overflow happens. So variable overflow simply happens when we assign a value to a variable that it cannot hold. So a data type that it cannot hold. For example, here, the max value of a byte that it can store is 255, like I said. So here, I'm assigning a value to a byte that is 266. So the compiler throws an error. So that is variable overflow. Another example is I have declared a variable that is x. You have to name them properly. This is just for your understanding again. And I've assigned it the max value of an integer. And then I've added the constant 1 to it. So you can see that the compiler throws an error at compile time itself so that we can correct that. So in this case, we're assigning the value of 1 to an integer variable y and the max value of an integer to this x field variable, and then adding our y to it. So we're not using constant. So the value of y is 1. That is 1 more than the max value of an integer. So as I said, it takes up some weird value, and yeah, like that. Yeah. So as you can see in our first example, the compiler is throwing an error at the compile time itself, so that we can correct it that time itself. But for the second example, the compiler is not really throwing an error, but it takes up some weird value that is worse than this. So it'll just take up some weird value, like I said. Okay, so now we have reached the checked and unchecked keywords. So the following operations are affected by the overflow check. So expressions using the following predefined operators on interval types: increment, decrement, add, subtract, multiply, and divide. So even explicit numeric conversions between interval types. So next I'm going to explain more in detail about the checked and unchecked keywords. So first I'm going to start explaining about the checked keyword. So in this example, in the below example, the compiler won't give any error, but instead it will provide a strange result, like I said. So we are not using a constant. So the checked keyword is used in scenarios where you want to know whether the left-hand side variable is getting overflowed. So it will throw an exception if there is an overflow, and the exception can be caught by error handling mechanism. Okay. So I'm going to explain more in detail about the check keyword. So the below code shows the usage of the check keyword in C#. So here I'm using a try-catch block for catching the exception in an even better manner. You'll learn in detail about what the try-catch block is in one of our later videos. Okay, so inside this checked block, I've typed in int y and assigned it the value of 1. So we are not using constants again. And then I'm declaring another variable that is x, that is an integer, and assigning it the max value of the integer and adding 1 to it. So now you see we don't get any error at compile time, but the compiler of course will throw an error at one time. I'll show you that in the Visual Studio demo. So next I'm going to explain about the unchecked keyword. The unchecked keyword is used to bypass the overflow chain. For example, here I'm declaring a constant integer and assigning the value of 1. Then I'm declaring another variable that is an integer and assigning the value of the max value of integer and adding our constant to it. So by default behavior, the compiler will throw an error. And if you need to bypass even that, you can use the unchecked keyword. So like shown here. So here's an example. We are not using constants here. Even if you're using constants, the compiler will not really throw an error. Okay. So now we're going to do the Visual Studio demo. So I'll just fire up Visual Studio. Okay. So here I've fired up Visual Studio and I've created a console application. So what I'll show you first is how you can use the check keyword. So before that, I'm going to show you the strange value that our variable will take up if we're not using constants. So, and if there is an overflow. First, I'm going to declare an integer y and assign it the value of 1. Then I'm going to declare another integer and I'm going to name this, let's see, z, and assign it the max value of an integer. I just need to type in int that max value. I want to add y to it. So now when we run our program, let's see what happens. Oh wait, we have to print this on the console. I'm sorry. Console.writeLine x, value of x, z. Yeah, z. Now again, let's try and run our program. Okay. So as you can see, it displays some strange value, and this is not the thing. This is not the correct result of what we wanted on the console. So now here, I'm gonna try to use a constant. So plus 1. And that max value plus 1, so there's an error again. So I'll make that back to y, and I'm gonna make this y as a constant. So I just need to use the constant keyword, and there too there is an error. Okay. So now the compiler is not really checking our error and throwing an exception. So to handle that, we're going to use the checked keyword. So checked, and I'm going to throw up a curly bracket in the next line and end that off here. Now let's see and run our program what's going to happen. So there it says me that some unhandled exception is there. So to handle this exception even better, we can use some error handling mechanism, that is our try-catch block. So while we were not using the checked keyword, this we got displayed on the console some strange value that was in the variable z. Yeah. So when we use the checked keyword, it displayed that there is an error. It's like unhandled exception that our variable got overflowed. So getting a strange value is more dangerous, right? So the user will be assuming that that's correct, but it will be incorrect. So now I'm going to teach you how you can use the try-catch block. So here I'm going to type in try and straight up a curly bracket. And then I'm going to end that off here. So we need to display some proper message to the user. So I'll type in catch. So what does it need to catch? We need to catch an overflow exception. And I'll type in EX. That'll be we'll have some set of messages. Not exactly messages, but the overflow exception object value. Okay, so now here I'm going to fill up a curly bracket and I'm going to type in something on the console. So EX dot message. So that is an error message. So now the user will be getting some proper message that there is an overflow. So now let's go ahead and run our program. So Control plus F5. So it says that arithmetic operation resulted in an overflow. So now you know how you can use a try-catch block. So I'm just going to close that. So now I'm going to show you how you can use the unchecked keyword. So first of all, I'm going to make this checked keyword as an unchecked keyword and go ahead and run our program. So here we are bypassing the variable overflow check. So here again we're getting a weird value. So earlier while we were using the default behavior and we didn't use the unchecked keyword and using the constant 1, we were getting an error. But here, if instead of this y, I'll type in the constant 1 and I'll kind of run my program. So again, it takes up that weird value. I'll just close that. So now you can see that there's again no error, but it just takes up some weird value. So if we don't want to check if there is a variable overflow at all, then we use the unchecked keyword. So that's it for this video, guys. If you like this video, don't forget to like and share this video. Please subscribe to my channel for more. Goodbye till the next video.